The Vikings, Chapter 5, Leif Eriksson. The Big Question. Why might Vikings have once believed that Greenland was the end of the world? From Greenland to Vineland. I promised to tell you what we have heard from faraway Greenland. Sigurd the storyteller smiled as he looked upon the crowd. Every face had turned his way. Ivar was sitting at Sigurd's feet. Ivar had never seen Vikings act this way at a feast. Usually there was lots of laughter, dancing, and loud merrymaking. But when Sigurd the storyteller spoke, his listeners sat in respectful silence. Ivar wondered if he could ever be a storyteller like Sigurd. The storyteller had traveled to many lands and had known many great Viking heroes. He knew the stories of the gods and taught them to the Viking children. Vikings believed their gods lived in Asgard. Within Asgard, there were 12 kingdoms, and each important god had a home in one of them. Vikings told stories about their gods and giants, including the giant Thrym. You can see Thrym in the illustration. Sigurd also knew all the great Viking poems. How could anyone have so much knowledge? Ivar marveled. Ivar promised himself he would ask Sigurd to teach him to be a storyteller. He pictured himself standing in front of his father and the other Vikings, sharing the news from faraway places, while they quietly listened with great respect. Ivar's daydream was interrupted by an uncomfortable feeling. He realized that Sigurd was staring right at him. The great storyteller was talking to him. Ivar knows Greenland is at the end of the world. Stand up, Ivar. Tell me, is that true? Yes, sir. Ivar was glad he knew the answer. Everyone knows that. Sigurd smiled again. Everyone, Ivar, except those who have heard of the most recent events. For we now know that there are great lands to the west of Greenland that some Vikings have explored. Bjarni Haraldsson, another great sailor, was the first Viking to see this new land. It happened when a great storm carried his longship far past Greenland. When the storm passed, Bjarni saw land in the distance, but he was eager to reach home, so he sailed back to Greenland. Sigurd told the crowd. When Bjarni arrived in Greenland, he told the story of what he had seen to Eric the Red and to Eric's son, Leif Eriksson. The two Vikings were eager to explore this new land. Leif Eriksson then bought Bjarni's longship. Leif asked his friends, who were also eager to go exploring, to be his crew. Like his father, Leif was strong and brave and loved adventures. But Leif did not have his father's hot temper. He was a calm and thoughtful young man. Although Eric the Red did not go with them, the explorers sailed to the land Bjarni had seen. They later called this land Vineland or Wineland. They chose this name because wild grapes grew there. Vineland had rich pastures and forests and plenty of animals to hunt. Leif and his crew stayed in Vineland for the winter. When spring came, they sailed back to Greenland. The Vikings were great explorers. From Scandinavia, they sailed as far east as Russia and as far west as North America. Today, we know what the Vikings called Vineland is Newfoundland in North America. On the way back to Greenland, Leif and his crew rescued Vikings who had been shipwrecked. In return, Leif was given the ship's cargo. Ever since then, Leif has been called Leif the Lucky. Sigurd put his arm around Ivar's shoulders and said, "As my longship was leaving Greenland, We saw cargo ships loading farm tools and animals. Vikings sailing those ships will soon settle in Vineland. So now you know, Ivar, Greenland is not at the end of the world. Tor the Jarl rose to speak. He held a carved runestone high over his head. Tonight is a time of great honor. Sigurd honors us with his important news. Ivar, who worked hard at carving, honors his father with this runestone. Cargo ships carried farm animals and tools to Vineland to help support Viking settlements there. This is the end of the 5th chapter.